Libra, my dear, listen closely because what you do on August 27th could change everything. You must stay home. You must be alone. There is a sacred gift making its way to you, and it will only arrive in silence. What if I told you that the universe has circled this date just for you? That the whispers you've felt lately, the chills on your skin, the unexplainable dreams, the strange pull towards solitude, are not coincidences. They are signals. Divine signals. And this video is your confirmation. Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, where every word you hear is a thread pulling you back to your soul. This is not just a horoscope reading. It's a spiritual appointment. And if you're here, Libra, it means your soul showed up before your mind did. Picture this: one invisible door opens once a year. Not with keys. Not with noise. But with stillness. And that door, Libra, is opening just for you on August 27th. But here's the truth no one told you: if you allow even one distraction, one outside voice, one footstep of another's energy to enter your space, the door will disappear like smoke. This isn't fear. It's frequency. And you are being asked to hold yours steady. That's why you must stay home. That's why you must be alone. The Moon, Neptune, and Pluto are aligning in a deep emotional trine that shakes your inner waters, not to drown you, but to clear what no longer serves. You may feel emotions rising, memories surfacing, a pull to reflect, to cry, to breathe, to release. This is not breakdown, it is baptism. It is activation. And it must happen away from the eyes of the world. Libra, the version of you who constantly seeks harmony, validation, and approval. She is beautiful, but she is tired. On this day, that version is invited to rest. And the deeper version, real, unfiltered, sovereign, is ready to rise. So if you're already feeling it, if something in your chest is stirring as I speak, leave a comment below right now and write, "I am ready to receive what is mine." That is not just interaction. That is declaration. It's your signature on the energetic contract the universe is offering. And before we dive in, please allow me to pause and thank you genuinely for your presence here. Every time you like, comment, or subscribe, you are not just supporting this channel, you are supporting a movement of awakening. A sacred space where astrology becomes a mirror for healing and spiritual truth. Your love, your presence, your energy. It means more than you know. It's what allows Zodiac Whisper Tarot to keep bringing these transformational messages straight into your heart. And trust me, beloved Libra, you will want to stay with me until the very last moment of this video, because what the universe is about to reveal is far more extraordinary than anything you've heard before. Now, take a breath. Let the noise of the world fall away. Let this moment be yours. Because the message that's coming, it was written just for you. There's a certain kind of silence that isn't just the absence of noisy, it's a sacred stillness that makes space for something extraordinary to arrive. On August 27th, Libra, that stillness becomes the signal that unlocks what has been waiting for you on the other side of your inner door. The moon flowing through Neptune in harmonious trine with Pluto doesn't just stir emotion, it opens an energetic spiral deep within your subconscious. And this spiral does not respond to action, noise, or logic. It responds only to presence. Think of yourself as a finely tuned, ancient instrument, one that has carried the songs of your ancestors, the whispers of your dreams, and the longings of your soul. But like any sacred tool, it must be handled with care. If anyone touches your energy field on this day through conversation, expectation, even unspoken emotion, they unintentionally retune you. And once that happens, the clarity that was reaching out for you becomes static. You're no longer aligned with the frequency of the gift that was meant to meet you in private. This is why silence is not just peace today, it's precision. Being alone is not avoidance, it's alignment. The more you can soften into solitude, the more available you become for what's meant to find you. In my years of energy work, I've seen this again and again. We don't miss divine timing because we're unwilling, we miss it because we're too entangled in the noise of others to notice when it arrives. August 27th is a sacred intersection between clarity and clutter, between soul and shadow. And only those who honor the pause will witness the breakthrough. Even the law of attraction is different on days like this. It's not about pulling things toward you with intention, it's about being so quiet, so still, that what's already meant for you can recognize you. That's the magic. That's how miracles happen, not through striving, but through surrender. This may sound subtle, but it's actually radical. We're taught that we must do more to become more. But in the higher laws of energy, sometimes the bravest act is to simply be. Be with yourself. Be with the breath. Be with the divine in the form of quiet awareness. That's where healing rushes in. I've spoken to many who say they feel called to be still, or suddenly want to cancel plans, and they don't know why. That's not coincidence. It's the signal. It's the pull of a new timeline, gently tapping on the walls of your life. And like the stories we've heard of people who paused just long enough to avoid a disaster, or who listened to a whisper that changed everything, this moment is one of those portals. What if this is the day your higher self scheduled your rebirth? What if the silence you fear is the only place your soul can truly speak again? You don't need a dramatic sign, Libra. You just need to honor the gentle ones. And as you do, trust that what's unfolding behind the curtain of your life is more meaningful than anything you've lost. Even if no one else understands why you chose stillness, you'll know in your body, in your breath, in your peace that you answered the call. And that call? It was never loud. It was always soft. It was always quiet. It was always waiting for you to slow down. Just enough to finally hear it. Some days are not meant to be clear, and August 27th is one of them. Libra, what you're feeling isn't confusion, it's revelation, unfiltered and raw. You may find yourself flooded with emotion that seems disconnected from your present moment, or memories that resurface without a logical reason. There may be tears without context, waves of vulnerability that don't follow a script, or a sudden ache in your heart you can't quite explain. And yet, all of it is purposeful. All of it is sacred. What feels like internal chaos is, in truth, the soul shedding its protective layers. You've worn masks, haven't you? Not out of deceit, but out of survival. The peacemaker, the gentle listener, the agreeable one in the room. And while those roles once protected your belonging, they've also muffled your truth. This particular moment in the sky where the moon swims through the waters of Neptune while trining Pluto's underworld fire activates your emotional undercurrent in a way that brings all of that to the surface. It's not neat. It's not linear. It's not supposed to be. In the language of the tarot, this is the moon revealing hidden fears and emotional currents you've long kept tucked beneath your smile. It's the tower shaking loose your inner scaffolding, the beliefs and attachments that can no longer hold. And finally, it's judgment, calling your soul to rise after the storm, not in perfection, but in naked truth. There is something deeply spiritual in this undoing, even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment. This isn't emotional breakdown, it's energetic detox. What you're experiencing is not a flaw in your alignment, it is the very evidence that alignment is happening. During these vulnerable hours, try not to resist the pull inward. There's no need to explain your emotions, to rationalize them or make them palatable. Let them be. Your nervous system may feel overwhelmed, your heart space raw, but that's because your energetic body is undergoing a kind of emotional reset. Just as the body sweats to release toxins, the spirit moves emotion through waves. It's cleansing. It's healing. And it's temporary. There's a softness required in moments like this. Rather than pushing yourself to get it together, ask instead, what is this emotion trying to free me from? That question alone can change everything. Because emotions are not enemies. They are messengers. And on days like these, they speak with clarity louder than the mind can handle. One of the most powerful things I've learned, not just in astrology or tarot, but in years of therapeutic practice, is that transformation rarely looks graceful. Growth doesn't always show up as motivation or inspiration. Sometimes it shows up as disorientation. As tears in the middle of the day. As silence you can't break. And still it's progress. I've worked with people who thought they were falling apart when in fact, they were finally becoming real. And the most miraculous breakthroughs often followed their most emotional unraveling. This is where trust becomes your anchor. Not blind trust, but embodied trust, the kind you build by staying present with yourself when everything feels unfamiliar. You may not understand what's shifting, but you can choose to believe that it is serving you. That's enough. Like many who've lived through spiritual turning points, the miracle doesn't always come with light and certainty, it often comes in the dark, through surrender. So when your heart swells and you can't name the reason, when your thoughts drift and nothing feels solid, let that be okay. Give yourself the space you've long offered others. Make room for the untangling. For the dissonance. For the divine timing that's writing a new song inside your soul. You are not meant to have it all figured out today. You are meant to feel, and in that feeling, something within you is being reborn. Quietly. Completely. And beautifully. It may come as a surprise, but the darkness you're feeling right now isn't here to hurt you. It isn't here to punish, derail, or expose you. Libra, this darkness is a messenger. A quiet hand offering you a box you forgot you sealed shut long ago. Inside it are the pieces of yourself you once hid, your raw feelings, your quiet dreams, your unspoken truths, all carefully tucked away because you thought the world couldn't handle them. But now, in this cosmic stillness, in the charged atmosphere of August 27th, the lock has come undone. And your soul is whispering, it's time to come home to yourself. Imagine your inner world like a house. Over the years, you've decorated the rooms you show to others, filled them with pleasing conversations, graceful gestures, and polished responses. But deep down the hall is a door that's rarely opened. The room behind it holds everything you've been taught to suppress: the fire of your anger, the sting of your disappointments, the complexity of your identity, and the rawness of your unmet needs. On this day, that door creaks open not because you forced it, but because the energy around you is finally safe enough for what's inside to step forward. From a therapeutic lens, we know repressed emotion doesn't vanish. It waits. It burrows into the body, into the patterns of our relationships, into our habits of self-denial. But on days like this, when energy is ripe with healing potential, those feelings don't need to stay in hiding anymore. You might feel a tightness in your chest. You may cry and not know why. You might find yourself remembering a conversation from years ago that you thought didn't matter. These aren't signs of falling apart theories, signs of something coming back to life. And yet, it's not always easy to sit with what arises. Many people avoid this kind of inner meeting because it feels overwhelming, even unbearable. But you are not many people. You are being asked to listen differently. To stay present with yourself, not to fix or change anything, but simply to say, I hear you now. Because sometimes, that's all your soul has been waiting for. To be heard, not filtered. To be loved, not explained. There's a quiet miracle that happens when we give space to what's been silenced. It's like breathing into a part of the body that's been frozen. Movement returns. Warmth returns. And slowly, gently, the truth returns too. Not the truth you were taught to say, but the truth that was born with you. You might consider recording your thoughts today. Speak them aloud, not for an audience, but for yourself. Or write in a journal, starting with the question, what did I give up just to feel accepted? Let the answer flow without judgment. It may not be neat or clear, but it will be real. And real is where freedom begins. If you've ever read sacred texts or stories of miraculous change, you'll notice something in common. The breakthrough almost always arrives in a quiet moment. A wilderness. A hidden place where no one else is watching. And isn't that what's happening right now? You've been drawn into a spiritual pause, not because you're lost but because you're about to remember the way back to yourself. No matter how heavy this feels, trust that you are not being swallowed by your darkness, you are being stretched by your light. The intensity is a sign that something deep is shifting, being rearranged, being reborn. Stay close. Stay gentle. And know that everything rising to the surface now is not your undoing, it's your return. Sometimes, the most powerful act of courage is not stepping out, but staying in. Libra, as you move through the energetic gateway of August 27th, the atmosphere around you is more than just delicate, it's electrically charged. Your energy field, already sensitive by nature, becomes a finely calibrated transmitter on this day. Everything you feel, say, think, or absorb is magnified, recorded, and imprinted into the fabric of your future. Which is why even the smallest external disruption, a phone call, a glance, a message can shift the entire frequency you've been aligning with. That's not fear. That's physics. That's energetic truth. It's essential to understand that you're not just attracting energy today, you're shaping it. This is not the law of attraction working in its usual flow. This is the law of precision. On days like these, manifestation isn't about drawing in what you want, it's about holding your field so steady, so clear, that what you've already been destined to receive can locate you. When someone else enters your field, even with the kindest intention, their energy mingles with yours. Their fears, their doubts, their thoughts, even if subtle, act like ripples in a pond you've spent hours calming. And the vision you've been crafting? It blurs. This is why solitude is not isolation, it's spiritual hygiene. You're not avoiding others because you're fragile. You're protecting the blueprint of something divine that's being written through you. Think of it like sealing a letter with wax. Until the seal hardens, one touch could ruin the message. In numerology, 2 + 7 gives us the number 9. A number of closure, of ending cycles, of returning to yourself before stepping into something new. You are completing an inner chapter, Libra. One that cannot be carried forward with lingering attachments or background noise. Just like a deep exhale that empties the lungs before the next breath, your spirit is being invited to clear space. And it can only do that in silence. From my years of guiding spiritual journeys, I've seen how often people abandon transformation not because they weren't ready, but because they didn't realize how sacred the stillness was. They stepped out too soon. Checked one message. Answered one call. Made one compromise. And the vibration dropped just enough to delay what was meant to reach them. Not forever, but long enough to feel the sting of almost. You deserve more than almost. There is an ancient wisdom that says when God wants to prepare someone for a divine assignment, He takes them into the wilderness alone, not to punish, but to purify. In modern life, that wilderness may look like your bedroom, your apartment, your sacred corner of peace. And Libra, this is your wilderness day. No eyes on you. No applause. No feedback. Just you, your field, and the light that wants to meet you there. So be mindful. Turn off notifications. Leave texts unanswered. Let the world think you've gone quiet, because in truth, you're being rewritten. What's arriving for you on this day needs space. It needs stillness. It needs a vessel that is unshaken by noise. And the most beautiful part? When the moment passes, and you return to your world, no one will quite understand what happened. But you will. You'll carry it in your clarity, in your peace, in the subtle shift of your gaze. Because you stayed. Because you honored the moment. And because you trusted that your soul was worth protecting. There's a quiet kind of preparation that happens when no one is watching, Libra's sacred reshaping that takes place only when your soul is finally given space to breathe without explanation. If the past few days have felt like a soft unraveling, like something within you is slowly dissolving, it's because you are being lovingly reassembled. This is not chaos. This is calibration. What looks like stillness from the outside is actually a sacred ritual taking place at the deepest level of your energetic DNA. You are not being forgotten. You are being sealed, protected, reset, and realigned to rise in a form that is truer than ever before. Every astrological cycle has its own fingerprint, and what we're experiencing right now is not ordinary. This is the type of energetic window that activates dormant codes in your spirit, codes that know exactly what you came here to become. You are not being asked to act or perform. You are being asked to allow. Allow what no longer fits to fall away. Allow the layers you've worn for the sake of peace to dissolve. Allow the version of you that once needed permission to quietly bow out, so that the version who simply is can emerge. I often think of how divine timing never arrives with a trumpet. It slips in during the hush between heartbeats, in long exhales, in wordless understanding. There are moments when the heavens move, not by force, but by invitation. Today is one of those moments. This is your invitation, Libra. Not to do more, but to come closer to yourself. The rebirth you're undergoing is not external. It's spiritual. It's energetic. And it's irreversible. When you look into the mirror tomorrow, something subtle will be different. Not your appearance. Not your style. But your gaze. There's a softness that returns when you no longer carry the burden of needing to be understood. There's a peace that settles when the only validation you seek is the quiet nod of your own soul. And from that place, every choice you make begins to align more effortlessly. You no longer bend to fit the world, you begin to shape it from within. As someone who's worked with energy for many years, I've witnessed firsthand how powerful quiet rituals can be. You don't need a grand ceremony to activate change. You just need a moment of intention. A space that feels safe. A breath that feels real. Even something as simple as lighting a blue or white candle, colors that restore harmony to the Libra heart, can create an atmosphere that signals to the universe, I'm ready. Try sitting in silence for 27 minutes today. Just observe. Don't fix. Let your breath be your anchor. Or write a letter to the version of you who will read it in a year. Tell them who you were. What you released. And what you're walking toward. These acts, while small, are not symbolic, they are transformative. They shift energy. They build bridges between timelines. They remind your nervous system that you are safe in this transition. And perhaps most important of all, remember this: you do not need approval to evolve. You do not need permission to be new. You do not need to be understood to be real. Say it softly, or say it boldly, but say it to yourself today: I do not need to be accepted. I only need to be seen by me. That's where your power lives now. Not in others recognizing your light, but in you no longer dimming it to be recognized. You are no longer seeking the world's reflection. You have become your own mirror. And the reflection staring back? It is wiser, braver, and beautifully reborn. Libra, if you've made it this far, then your heart already knows what your mind is just beginning to accept. This day was never about the world pulling you away, but about something sacred pulling you inward. You're not being removed from life. You're being chosen for something deeper. You're not being silenced. You're being sealed in a sacred room where transformation doesn't require an audience, only your honest presence. And in that stillness, you are becoming someone new, not because you changed who you are, but because you remembered who you were before the world taught you to forget. You see, the journey of awakening isn't always filled with clarity and confidence. Sometimes it looks like being confused, exhausted, and completely undone. But in those moments, Libra, grace moves. Not loud. Not obvious. But real. And if you trust this process, if you sit through the silence and listen to the whispers only your soul can hear, you'll emerge from this moment not just cleansed but crowned. With your truth. With your clarity. With your own radiant rhythm. So let me ask you this: what version of yourself are you willing to meet today? Are you ready to let go of who you thought you had to be, just to become the person you were born to be? What would happen if you stopped chasing alignment and started allowing it? What would shift in your life if you made peace with the quiet instead of trying to fill it? You're not here by accident. You didn't stumble upon this message randomly. You were guided. Not by me. Not by a screen. But by something far more intelligent, your own divine timing. The part of you that is always seeking the highest light in the gentlest way. That version of you brought you here. And that version of you is worth listening to. So now, I invite you to make this personal. Leave a comment below and write, "I am ready to receive the next version of me." Let that sentence be a seed you plant today. Not just for accountability, but for activation. Because when you declare it, you open the door. And when you open the door, the universe walks in. And if this message touched something in you, something tender, something ancient, something ready, then let us walk this path together. Like this video if it resonated. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next message your soul is calling for. And share it with someone you know is also quietly transforming, even if they haven't told anyone yet. This space, Zodiac Whisper Tarot, exists for hearts like yours. Sensitive, wise, evolving. Thank you deeply for being here, for showing up for yourself, and for allowing this message to land. Your support is what keeps this space alive. Your energy is what keeps this community sacred. And as you move forward from this moment, carry this knowing with you: you are not behind. You are not lost. You are not late. You are right on time, guided not by noise, but by light. So take one last breath before you go. Let it settle into your bones. Let it remind you of what matters. Let it echo in your soul long after this video ends. Because August 27th isn't a day for movement. It's a day for return. Not to the world, but to yourself.